Sorry, go ahead, Rebecca. Yeah,
What do
go
you
ahead.
think?
No, you were going to ask me a question, I think.
No, it was pertaining to acting and so forth because I know that you did some work recently, semi-recently, on your Captain Marvel, which is pretty
Oh
awesome.
yeah, that
In
was
the
really that was really cool. It's a she
That's
doesn't talk much because she's so cool. She's just like up.
yeah.
Cap,
she's
hey Cap.
Superman with better hair.
But she's so such a cool character, and it's oh, and that was I think that was the last session that I did where I got to be in the room with everybody before the before everything got sort of segregated and physically distanced, and um, so I cherish I you know I think a lot how lucky we are because it's not all over the world. It's not the same necessarily as Vancouver. A lot of different cities,
Mm.
even in Toronto and in LA and New York and all those places, there's a lot of prelay stuff that is done separate anyways. But we are so lucky because we get it's like being on stage where you get to be in a room with a cast, and I really hope that this is gonna. I think that producers in Vancouver are really leaning, bringing that back when we can, when it's safe, because you get such an incredible chemistry when you're already in the room with the other people, and you learn from each other too. Say like when I first started out on relay stuff, I was in a room with these incredibly like experienced, talented. Um, it was awe-inspiring. The group that I got to work with was one of the first shows that I worked on was Kid versus Cat, and I played the brother of Brian Drummond, and um, who else? Who else was in there? And Ian Corlett was there, Vincent Tong, Kathleen Barr, Kathy Westlook, Tabitha St. Germain, Erin. Oh my God, Erin. What's her last name? Oh my God, now I have to look her up. I'm sorry, Erin.
So many names.
um,
You're doing really
so
well
many
so far, Rebecca.
but my point is, oh, and Trevor Duvall and my point, Matthews, Aaron Matthews. My point is about that is I got to my learning curve when because I'd started doing voiceover and doing ADR stuff, so the dubbing, which is very solitary, but you get a lot of great coaching from your directors and such, and and it's so much fun. But you're really not working on a raw new character. But then you watch all these, for lack of a better word, veterans or like incredibly experienced other actors, and you learn. The learning curve goes like straight through the roof because you you just sit there in awe. And one of the hardest lessons I had to learn in prelay was not to laugh out loud because I was working with it was a very funny script. Boots wrote this hilarious script. Rob Boutier, he's also gone on to do this Snoopy show on Apple TV and the peanut stuff um, and the script is you have to not like my hardest thing when you're sitting there trying to be quiet when it's not your scene, and just watching people like sometimes doing like Kathleen Barr doing a scene with herself. It's just like mind-boggling and hilarious at the same time. Anyways, I don't know where I was going with that, but oh yeah, I hope we
No.
get back in the room. I hope we get back in the room with other actors because I would love the opportunity to finally get a chance to act with Devin.
Yeah.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah. No, it's really it's just recording and doing it by yourself. Like you said, you have the director and stuff, and it's great. But exactly, there's just that chemistry where you bounce off of each other, and I think that's what was so special with My Little Pony too. Is you're in there recording the episode, so you understand the flow. You understand, you know, I would be there with all the young six. We really did bond like the young six because we were all the new students when we first showed up for our first day. We were in there with all the OGs and like the voiceover legends in Vancouver, and we were all kind of a little bit newer to voiceover. Um, and so we were like in there like recording with them, and it was just such an honor. And then you really learn also how it goes, and you so yeah, it was a great learning curve, and you bond, and then you really are recording it just like how the episode is. You're in class, like we were the students of the teachers there, and so it just kind of, I think that's why it also was such a success, because you really are making that, it's happening for real as well as actual script. So
Yeah,
I
it's
hope we get
the
back.
authenticity,
Yeah,
right?
I
Like
hope
that's
so.
what you grab from
Yeah.
being in a room with people, is that really authentic emotion. And I think that's why this show
Hmm.
really speaks to people, is because there's so much genuine love written in the scripts as well as performed by the actors. You know, the
Yeah.
actual love, the love is palpable, and it does a magic, that bouncing back and forth for sure.
Totally.
Yeah,
But
no,
yeah,
it's
it can be intimidating going in with the people who are OGs, right?
Yeah, yeah. Oh, it was, but at the same time, that fades so quick because one, the producers and directors are super awesome as well, and they're just as much fun. Like they
Yeah.
could have their own little voiceover recording going, I'm sure. Like Terry was a blast, and um, it was just, yeah, it's just like a beautiful thing when you get to. So the intimidation went away pretty quick, just because they're such lovely people
Mhm.
to work with. So
I know
yeah.
it reflects with how much fun I have working with you guys. You know,
Yeah,
it's like the fact
exactly.
that I know how that must be. It's got to
Hmm.
be such an amazing feeling. So we've got some great questions from
Oh,
the
cool.
Hey.
audience here. So why don't we get started on these ones? And if you are interested in asking a question, I can't promise we'll get to every question because there's quite a few here. But if you go to our main stage chat in our Discord, I have Bolt. Thank you very much for doing so. He's pinning a lot of the questions just so we can review them. As I said, I can't promise everyone
Awesome.
questions is going to get answered, but I see a couple here that are very common kind of questions here. So, Devin, you've got quite a few here. One in particular, what was your favorite moment voicing Osalis?
Oh, wow. I loved first. I'll say this: when we did the audition for the Young Six, we were given the sides for all of the characters, and you could choose which ones you were going to go in. They only wanted you to read. I think it was for two at the time. It was an in-room audition, which also is rare right now. Most of it is home recordings. Um, and I chose Ocella's was the first one I chose, and it was because like I loved her the auditioning line. It was something about pillows. It was like pillows, how nice. And I was like, oh my gosh, I love pillows. I have like an obsession of pillows. There's like a million on. Like, I was just really like all of her lines. I kind of felt like I connected with. So I was so pleased to book Ocellos, and maybe it's because sometimes you just get roles that you just feel you match with.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Do you have any Ocelis pillows?
Oh, well, I have plushies, and I
Plushies,
do have a pillow. I have one pillow, and then I've got like this is my little plushie, and I got another big one,
yeah.
and like tons of pins and things. I always go through the vendor halls, and that's one of my favorite things is seeing all the really amazing, cool stuff that everyone makes. Like I've got a coffee mug, I've got a bag, I've got yeah. I always go in there and
Stuff.
like spend a bunch of money and buy them, and it's so cool. You guys are so creative. I love that stuff. So,
So cool.
um, yeah, yeah. I guess it's just yeah. My heart was set on Celis, and it worked out. And she's just such a sweet character. And Christmas episode was really fun to record because it was just like very Ellis, how she was reading everything practical, like okay, now we'll do carols, 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 and like I thought that was a really sweet episode, and it was kind of fun because we got to see like a little home bit of each of the young six. So I loved that episode. But really, it was just kind of the whole journey and how she like came out of her shell more. I kind of related with too because even though I'm a performer, I'm like I'm very shy at times, which I find so funny. But I could relate to her. Like once she was comfortable, she started to just feel more of herself.
Like you saw the character, very cool. Yeah, that's everyone has a very deep connection with their characters
Yeah.
as time goes on. Certainly, I mean sometimes
Totally.
you're just reading a line and that's fair enough, but
Yeah.
I you can always tell when someone like yourself really puts themselves into it, and you could feel that with the Celis.
Yeah.
I know I'm not feeling that. So,
Awesome.
Rebecca, question for you. It says this is a fun one actually. Well, actually, there's a couple here. So, What are your thoughts on Sunset Shimmer of Equestrials being like incredibly popular? And the reference they give is to Ahsoka Tano from Star Wars, who is from Clone Wars. They were saying that she's almost as popular as her, it seems. So, what are your thoughts on that?
Ooh. Well, I honestly I can't speak to it. I can speak to I could speak to the excitement that I had of being written into new movies. Everyone, like every time Equestria Girls came out of their movie, it's like this one's more centered around Sunset Shimmer, and I was like, so just kind of like being part of a really cool work of art and working through her story was really cool. So I think that maybe if nothing else, because like the fans make the show. We don't make the show big, popular. We just try to go in and do our actors and be as authentic as we can, and just do a good job because we're actors. We just want approval. It's really nice to know that characters are the reason maybe why Sunset's character is so popular is because she really lives. You watch her live a story of redemption, of being super evil and then coming back and being learning and being humbled by power of the love that she feels from all these other people, and that compassion. And I think that's what's spoken to a lot of people because she was serene. My very first audition for her was like a few lines as a nasty high school girl, and then the rest of the lines were demon version of that. so I was like, to be able to work through from a place of like it's really like it can be a lot easier to play a villain because you're playing these extremes of just dramatic extremes, and then to be able then they basically send her into an explosion of friendship magic, and she's a quivering mess, and then she has to crawl out of that pit emotionally, mentally. The like man the the turnaround took about 2 or 3 movies before she developed any sense of confidence in herself again, because every built her world around was false. It was this false sense of power over, and it wasn't really the power of connections with other people. Until she learned how to do that, she wasn't feeling powerful anymore. So and then it was taking ownership of that power later too. So as things progress, it's like we can, like uh, in Legend of Everfree, she's, it's all about embracing that magic now, and she's being inspiring to other people. And so I guess if there's any way to say how um, Sunset Shimmer is as popular, maybe it's just she's got a really raw and honest story.
I think a lot of people
It
resonate
wasn't
with
nice
that.
to begin with, and that's why people like
I think just a fun question: was your evil teenage? We kind of touched on something there. Your evil high schooler a voice different than the one you ended up settling with?
um no, I think, well, as far as like my audition, you mean, or
Yeah, because you said it was I wasn't sure if that was a different portrayal than you ended with. Like, did you
no,
come in like
no, I
different?
really did. I really got cast as like that, like, and your little dog too. Like she was gnarly and nasty and awful, but they had to show the journey. The audition had to give them a sense of how to be a big and like nasty spellcasting beast as well. So there was the few lines at the beginning were like just in the high school in Cantala High, and then the later ones were like outside of Cantala High where she's literally drooling and frothing at the mouth, just flames coming out of her eyes and such.
Yeah, it was a fun character just in terms of her evolution in that regard. So yeah. Thanks, Rebecca. That's great. So there was a number of other questions, but I'll come back to you, Aselis, just because we don't want to spend too long on one topic. For actually, this is for both of you. Any key memories that changed how you approached and played characters, or maybe new inspiration as the characters kind of came to be what they were? Like that might have changed them for you. Like, was there any inspirations that you took along the way or in advance?
I think it was just that obviously when I did the audition, I thought Ocellus was just kind of like shy and timid, but as I got into it, I realized, once that was just like one side of her that really had a lot she actually wanted to say, and she actually has very strong points of views of things. So I think it was just kind of, yeah, like I said, letting her come out of her shell, and that was fun. That there was parts where she would start to like let herself do that, and I think that came from her trusting her group of friends so much. Um, so yeah, it kind of just developed naturally over time that she wasn't just the shy bug, like that she also was like super intelligent and she really has some strong beliefs and that she's just starting to speak up a little bit more. Yeah.
Fair.
I think it's kind of a similar notion for Sunset Shimmer because as you move along and she develops that sense of groundedness and security within her friend group, you actually find out that she's quite a bit of a nerd in a lot of ways, and she likes the crew better than the stars, the band on the stage, and she's likes the socks, and she digs on like, well, what are some of the other? She loves playing video games, and she's a gamer.
Yeah.
So all these things, you get to find out all these fun facts about her, and also she's still allowed to kind of hang on to a sense of like a little bit of sarcasm, which is kind of rare in a kids show. So I think Equestria Girls, because it was targeted to a slightly older audience, I was able to kind of keep a little bit of my swag, I guess, sort of like that, like sassy pants version of self, without being nasty. So there was always that fine line, actually, as we were reading through a script. I don't want to come off sounding mean anymore. So you have to find the fun in it. Some lines might have had to be adjusted to not sound like nasty.
No, that makes sense because I mean you're trying to, like you said, you portrayed the character and now you're like, okay, so now she's not that anymore, and it's like, yeah, finding the fine balance. Someone asked the question here. This was Janice the Light asked, how would you have liked to see Equestria Girls end, since we're talking about Sunset Shimmer?
I would not ever want to see it end.
Yeah.
Fair.
Just keep it going. Just keep it going. We'll head to middle. We'll be camp counselors and head to middle school and teach Canterlot Middle School or something like that.
Fair enough.
Yeah, no, I can't really speak to that. I know there was people who were like, oh, I can't believe it's over. And, that was the same too. We were just kind of in a bit of shock because there was no real sort of tied it in a bow. But, yeah.
That's how it goes,
I'm just an
unfortunately,
actor.
sometimes. Well, and then Devin, so you were. It was also a question for you. If you could write one more episode for Ocellus, this is again Janice the Light asked this question. What would you like to have happen in it? And we know, you're the actor. You're not necessarily the writer, but
there's so many things. When I think of Ocellus, I just always think of the Young Six because it's like we come as one. I think it would just be so fun to see them kind of go on like an adventure, like almost like those school field trips where they go like abroad. Maybe they go to Europe or something, or like something fun like that where they get up to all mischievous things, adventure. And I think like we would get to see maybe a lot of change things. I think it'd really. I love when she gets to be a changeling. And yeah, I don't know. I always think like a big, like just get them out of their elements, so to speak, but to see them kind of all like in a new little world where they're like in Paris or something like that. And although the reading yesterday inspired me that like a Clue episode would be super cool. I think kind of like a
That was
obviously
fun.
yeah, I think that would actually be a really really fun one. Something like that, just something adventurous would be great. And but keeping I think all the young six there would be really fun. And just getting to see them kind of maybe it's near like the end of school, so they're you know they're a little bit more mature now, and seeing Ocella's kind of take charge, like if he kind of likes to lead the class. She'd be like, okay guys, this is the itinerary for the trip, and see her like handing out a little itinerary and being like, we're going there and this, and keeping everyone like in check sort of while everyone goes off and like creates mayhem. I'm sure Yona would be over there smashing something, and like I'd have to go get her. And
She kind of reminded me of like a mixture between Fluttershy and Twilight in that regard, like the organized but shy one.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, a little bit. That's a good. Actually, that's a good. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like a mix.
Totally.
Yeah. That's fun. Yeah, I can see that. Did you have a favorite episode that you liked working on? This is for both of you. This is Shed Tone asked that question.
Gosh, they're all so fun. Like I said, I love the Christmas episode. That was a fun one.
The carols and the exchanging presents thing.
Yeah, I thought it was super cute.
They wrote really the writers, whoever wrote that. You guys are masters. That was great.
Yeah, and then I don't know what episode, I forget now which one it was, but they were kind of like learning a cheer dance and stuff, and like Ursula was like really quiet, trying to like learn the dance and stuff, but eventually she kind of like came out and got into it. That one was fun to record as well. I just remember having fun that day. Yeah, but they're all so much fun. It's hard for me to kind of choose one. I just remember like the day going into record were just the best, and yeah, it was always a good day. So
Rebecca, I know that you obviously were involved with different sides of the recording side. Mm-hmm. Were you actually often brought in with the like the voiceover people, or were you mostly just by yourself doing the singing side?
Oh, well, for all of us, when we were doing the singing, we recorded individually, did multiple tracks, working on an individual level, and stacking those so they sound like a big gang. But when it came to the Equestria Girls records, for the most part, I was in with Andrea and Tabitha and Ashley and Kathy, and so it was great. That was when I got to like have my most fun, because I got to watch those guys, especially once we'd reached doing Equestria Girls. I got an opportunity to really see them as they'd worked through many years of doing the show, and so weeks and weeks of working together, and just watching them switch on a dime back and forth between characters and have conversations with themselves. It was mind-blowing and so much fun. But I seem to recall one particular episode that was quite funny, where Andrea comes out of the water with a or Fluttershy rather comes out of the water with a snorkel, and so there were all these different versions of what it would sound like when she was talking with a snorkel. Like, you know how when you're talking a snorkel in your mouth, you're like this, but it's also through a tube. So, and of course it's Fluttershy's voice, so it's quite quiet. So I think I have a photograph of Andrea with like a piece of script rolled up and speaking through a tube. And so it's fun, you get to experience those like very creative moments, and have a good laugh. And yeah, it was pretty incredible to watch all those talented people do their thing. And then also I remember having a great time acting opposite Peter for Sugar Belle, when I got to be Sugar Belle, and they were sort of falling in love but not, and sort of this awkwardness, but a very sweet relationship. And Peter got a lot more things to say than just yep. And so it was great.
And you did the song with Vincent Tong as well. I guess it was part of that. That was super fun. Their bangs, the Justin Bieber pony.
That's so funny. Yeah.
That was so fun. That was so much fun. That episode was hilarious. And he did such such a great feather bangs. The
They
Babes, because
really do.
I've always known Vincent has an clinging voice, but he rarely gets a chance to kind of like shine like that. He was like, hey, like doing all of his licks and stuff. He's just like, I think he years ago did a musical theater show. He was part of like this sort of like Backstreet Boys type